Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 364 for October 1st, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the Montreal Alouettes have won the East Division in the Canadian Football League, Calvin Johnson is added to the pride of the Lions, and Reggie Bush is suing the NCAA and USC over NIL money? But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Yes, boy, oh boy. I don't know
What
how
a
much,
game last night.
I don't know how much sleep you got after watching the Monday
No,
night
I was
game.
up for quite a while watching all the replays and analysis. And
Yeah, I stayed up a little bit, not too late.
yeah, you had to go to work today.
I probably had 5 hours of sleep. But I wasn't tired.
No, I was
wired all day.
Yep.
But I'm wearing a Tigers jersey today because the Tigers are currently playing.
Yep.
You know, the playoffs started today in Major League Baseball. I mean, and the city of Detroit has just been blessed to have some decent teams as of late. You know,
Yeah.
the Red Wings were one game short of the playoffs. The Lions were one game away from the Super Bowl. And now the Tigers, here they are, big surprise, you know, in the postseason, and they're up 3-0 right now in the sixth inning. So, game one of their series. So, you know, pulling for the Tigers. I know we're not a baseball show; we don't talk baseball often, but you know what? It's awesome when sports in our state are a lot of fun. And right now, I mean, who's got it better than people in Michigan when it comes to their sports teams? Not a lot.
Yeah, well, Aaron pointed out to me that he and I were at a Tigers game earlier this year.
Yeah.
And he and I were both at the Lions playoff game in January with you and Liz and Kyle. So, yeah, so he and I have seen both Detroit teams during their playoff seasons.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
I hadn't really thought about that. All right, we come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You just search for the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @the World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You'll find over 400 videos on our YouTube channel, including 2 CFL recaps last week, Week 16 and Week 17. We actually got 17 done early because of the Monday night game.
Yep, so I had a free day on Sunday. I mean, normally that's when Kyle and I will record our Just Lying Around. We haven't done that yet. We're not going to do the Lions-Seahawks recap until probably Wednesday. And with the Lions going on a bye, I don't know if he wants to turn it into a recap / talk about the bye week and kind of give ourselves some extra time.
That makes sense.
So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, we got that coming up, and then we also have our Week 5 NFL picks video coming up this week as well. So yeah.
I did not watch any football on Sunday until 8 o'clock at night.
Really?
I did not see a single highlight or anything. I was busy doing other stuff that you normally don't get to do on a Sunday. Normally it's all NFL all day long.
Yeah.
But, man, I got so many other things done.
I mean, I watched a little bit of the Bears-Rams game. I watched a little bit of the Vikings-Packers game. And then I think I caught a little bit of some other games here and there the rest of the night, but mainly just kind of chilled. And didn't really pay much attention to football otherwise because, you know what, the Lions didn't play till Monday. So I was like, cool, I don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
So,
all right, so let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football. And we're going to start off this week with scores from Week 4 in the NFL with Adam.
That's right, everybody. And that started on Thursday night, which saw the New York Giants fall to the Dallas Cowboys 20-15. I don't know if you watched this game. A bit of a snooze fest to me.
I didn't watch any of that game either.
I mean, neither of these teams look great. I mean, despite Dallas having a couple of weapons, I don't know. And Malik Neighbors for the Giants kind of playing out of his mind. The Giants really ain't got much else going on for him. But, yeah, kind of a snooze fest in that one. I didn't watch that game live. I watched the highlights the next day, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't stay up for this one. All right, then on Sunday, saw the Atlanta Falcons defeat the New Orleans Saints 26-24. The Cincinnati Bengals took care of the Carolina Panthers 34-24. The Chicago Bears got a win against the Los Angeles Rams 24-18. I'm still not sold on Caleb Williams. I know he had a great week statistically, probably his best game yet. Blah blah blah. Whatever.
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie.
You're not going to get that kind of performance out of him yet.
I
Give him a
guess,
couple years.
But I don't know. I'm just not impressed. I think he's overhyped.
Yep.
But man, the other story is the Rams kind of letting that game get away from him. I thought that was one the Rams should have had, but they just weren't able to take care of that one. The Vikings-Packers game was interesting. The Vikings were up 28-0 at one point, and the Packers were able to claw their way back, but the Vikings were able to hold on and get the 31-29 victory. Jordan Love obviously came back from injury, played pretty great after being down 28-0. And it's funny that the Packers are now 0-2 when Jordan Love starts, and 2-0 when Malik Willis has played for them. So just on out there. And the Vikings, is it time to take them serious? They're 4-0. They looked pretty good. Sam Darnold looks pretty good. They got a lot of weapons. Obviously, Justin Jefferson. They got Jordan Addison back. That defense from Minnesota looks pretty scary, pretty real. So is it time to take the Minnesota Vikings serious now after 4 weeks?
It might be. They've come out of nowhere. Nobody expected anything from them this year.
No, it was supposed to be the Lions and Packers division, and who knows what was going to be of the Vikings. We figured they'd be the third team, and here they are undefeated, one of the last couple remaining undefeated teams.
Yeah, just two undefeated teams left. Yeah.
Yep. The Houston Texans bounced back and got a victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-20. How about the Indianapolis Colts holding on to a victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-24?
Yeah, that was a bit surprising.
There was a great video from the game where they had two options on the screen, in between plays. They always got some fun video board thing going on. It was Pat McAfee and somebody else, and they had the crowd cheer for which one. Then the other one was the haters and Caitlin Clark, and obviously everybody cheered for Caitlin Clark, who was in attendance for the game. All right, and boy, what a game this ended up being! As the Denver Broncos defeated the New York Jets 10-9. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix threw 60 yards passing for the whole game. I think that's the lowest amount of passing yardage for a winning quarterback. He was -7 yards, I believe, at one point passing during the game.
You probably don't have how many yards Rodgers threw for.
I could probably pick that up.
I'm just curious,
real quick.
If he only threw for 60 yards, Rodgers probably had a great game and lost.
So Bo Nix had 60 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, though, he had 225 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions for him.
Okay.
So.
But we've seen that so many times in the NFL and the CFL especially, that quarterback with the better stats does not always win the game. It's in fact, they almost always lose the game if they have better stats.
Right. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took care of the Philadelphia Eagles 33-16. How about that? Baker Mayfield had a fun day. 347 yards passing, 2 touchdowns for Baker. He looked pretty darn good. Then you had the Washington Commanders take care of the Arizona Cardinals 42-14. You want to talk about rookie quarterbacks who are impressing right now, and that's Jaden Daniels, the number 2 overall pick. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, threw for 233 yards. I believe he also might have had a rushing score in the game. I'm trying to pull up the stats as I'm going through talking about him, but
Washington is another surprise team that nobody expected much from this year, and all of a sudden they're doing real well early in the season, at least.
Right, yeah, and very, very surprising. They're 3-1. They lead that division, so good on them. And every year we always talk about that one surprise team. Could this year be the Commanders? The Commanders have been kind of down and out for the last, even before they changed their name.
Right, yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see how
it's been a while for Washington.
Yeah. The 49ers took care of the Patriots 30-13. The Chiefs won a close one against the Chargers 17-10, a low-scoring game there. But scary play where Patrick Mahomes accidentally took out his own wide receiver.
I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, he threw an interception, I think, or got tipped an interception. I forget exactly. But Mahomes was trying to make a play. Rashid Rice was there, too, to try to make a play. And Mahomes just kind of slammed into Rashid Rice's knee, and it just looked pretty bad. We'll wait and see. I'm not sure exactly what the status on that is, but it just looked pretty gruesome that day.
Wow.
And Rice had to go out of the game. So when your quarterback takes out your own wide receiver, it's a pretty scary affair. All right, the Raiders defeated the Browns 20-16, and a developing story out of this is the Raiders, because apparently they're shopping around wide receiver Devontae Adams. I saw he was on the Kay Adams podcast today.
Okay.
Says he has not even talked to the organization. these rumors have been going around about them trying to trade him, and
that just came up on my phone in breaking news. It says that he is requesting a trade from the Raiders.
I don't blame him.
Just before you said that, because I was going to bring that up. I was writing it down so I could, when you took a breath, I was going to mention that. But yeah, that just came across my phone.
Boy, oh boy, what a piece that would be. What team would want? I mean, I could think of a lot of teams that would want a Devontae Adams, but what do you give up for him? What is it going to take to get him?
Yeah.
And what team does he ultimately land on? Because that'll be the question. Boy, oh boy, it's scary to think about what teams he could end up landing with. If he goes to one of these contenders or teams that are kind of on the fringe.
Didn't he want to go to the Jets?
He might have to play with Aaron Rodgers. That could be a scary thing if he ends up going there, but do the Jets even have enough to get him at this point? They've given up so much.
I think they would have to give up so much that it would hurt the whole team, that they wouldn't win anything. He'll get what he wants, and Rodgers will get what he wants, but they won't do anything after that because they won't have anybody else.
Yeah, maybe not. All right, and I believe that's everything for the Sunday normal slate of games. But then your Sunday night game saw the Baltimore Ravens go back into form, defeating the Bills 35-10. They knocked the Bills off of their unbeaten streak.
Yeah,
and
I watched some of that. Man, that was it was hard to watch. If you're a Bills fan, you had a very bad night that night.
Man, Josh Allen just couldn't do much.
Yeah,
the Ravens pretty much had their way with it. I mean, you have Derrick Henry.
That first play of the game.
And Derrick Henry is just something else. He had 199 rushing yards during this game. He had a touchdown, on 24 attempts. So he averaged 8.29 yards a carry during this game. So, I mean, we figured that the Ravens would be a little better with Derrick Henry back there.
Sure.
I thought they'd be a very much improved team. They still got some stuff to work through. It's only 4 weeks into the year, but dang, the Ravens making a statement on Sunday night.
Yeah.
All right, then we had a doubleheader on Monday night, and the first game was a bit of a snooze fest. And
I didn't watch any of it.
Boy, I tried to watch some, and it was just not great. But luckily, the second game was a little better. But in that first game, saw the Tennessee Titans defeat the Dolphins 31-12. The Dolphins obviously without Tua Tagovailoa, and they just don't seem like the same team without him. It's weird that Tua seems like he's the glue that holds that team together because they have all the other pieces. You still got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You still got their coach Mike McDaniels as the head coach. And boy, Tyreek was yelling about something on the sideline, and Mike McDaniels just kind of stared off into the distance, didn't really emote or nothing. And for the Titans, Will Levis went down with an injury. In comes Mason Rudolph, who put a little bit of life into the Titans there. So we'll have to see if that helps the Titans kind of bounce back. But man, the Dolphins not looking great after that. All right, now, with all that said, I believe that's all we have to talk about.
Let's just move on to something else. And no other games are played.
We're 13 minutes into the show. I breezed through those scores just so we could spend the next 20 minutes talking about the Detroit stinking Lions defeating the Seattle Seahawks 42-29 on Monday Night Football. That's right, you had that crappy appetizer, and everybody was waiting until 8:15 for the real game to start.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, everybody, this was a fun one.
This
and
game
not just because we won,
disappoint.
but man, oh man, there was just so much for both teams
on both sides.
Yes.
Great plays, great highlights from this game.
And so I'm going to say it off the bat first. Seattle's a tough team.
Oh yeah,
they were down 4 defensive linemen,
yep.
and they still shelled out. They still got a little bit of pressure on Goff now and then,
yep.
And we'll talk about Goff here in a second. But I want to give the Seahawks some love because DK Metcalf is a beast. He's one of the toughest wide receivers to take down, and he proved that. Running back Walker III from Michigan State University, Kenneth Walker there.
Yeah.
It took him a while to get going, but when he got going, that dude was tough to stop. Even backup running back Charbonnet was pretty good. And Geno Smith. Geno Smith, is much like Jared Goff. He was kind of cast out. Nobody thought he would amount to much, but he throws for 395 yards passing, a touchdown and interception. I thought he looked good. He's got a great control of the ball. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, and he almost kept that Seattle team in it. Detroit obviously capitalized on a couple of turnovers. Mm-hmm. That was a big thing, and we could talk about the reffing if you want, but I wanted to just say that, even the Seahawks, obviously the Kenneth Walker play where Anzalone was trying to body slam him down, and Kenneth Walker would not go down.
Yeah.
And that was an impressive play. They kind of pulled a play the Lions did last week where they did a hook and ladder, and out in the open field, though, it didn't go for a touchdown. But, I mean, the fact that they did that in the open field and got a big first down on a long, I can't remember if it was a second or third down play, but that was impressive.
Yeah, that play that Anzalone had where he, flipped him over. Now, yes, he was not down for quite a bit, but just before he flipped him over, the guy's head touched the ground. And I think at that point, he would have been down because I know you can put your hand on the ground, but if any other part of your body touches the ground, you are down. So I think, technically, he was down when his head hit the ground, because then he flipped him over. But because of the penalty, it didn't really matter because
I don't know, I thought the play stood.
Well, yeah, but there was a penalty, so they moved it down anyway. So whether he was a few yards back or whatever, it was really academic.
Maybe not. It was still impressive.
Yeah, it was a
heck of a play.
Heck of a play.
But then we got the niceties out of the way. We talked a little nice about the Seahawks.
Right.
Let's gush about our beloved Detroit Lions here for a
second.
second.
My God, I love this team.
We didn't watch this game. We haven't watched a game together all season, which is rare for us.
Yeah.
But I mean, we barely even texted during the game.
I know. Well, I sent out a few texts to you and Aaron.
Yeah,
and nobody responded hardly at all.
I was too busy. I was glued to the TV. I mean, I saw your messages though. But boy, oh boy, what a fun. The Lions kind of got back into it. Yes, the defense has got a couple of issues, but it's nothing overly concerning.
Sure.
I mean, Tyrion Arnold's the guy who's catching a lot of the flack for his pass interferences, for the holdings. And that's just I think some of them are just ticky-tack calls. And I don't want to say the referees called the perfect game because they didn't.
Yeah.
I think they blew calls on both sides for both the Lions and the Seahawks. And I'll admit that. The offensive pass interference call, that was a big momentum swing against the Seahawks because I don't know if that was offensive pass interference. It looked like he was just trying to run his route and the guy was there. I guess if you want to throw a flag, sure. But I just felt like a lot of it was ticky-tack. Like, I thought there was hand fighting on both sides. Like, DK Metcalf's a big stinking dude. So, like, he's pushing off of guys, too, and he's not getting called anything. But yeah, Tyrion Arnold trying to, or anybody, him or, Davis, whatever the corner that was covering him.
Can't think of his first
Carlton
name.
Davis, I believe, was covering it. Regardless, I mean, it's tough. I wish they'd let these guys play a little more because, I mean, they're physical. Everybody's physical. Just let them play a little bit. I didn't think there were many egregious ones. There was probably a couple, but not a lot that warranted some of the flags. So I think the Lions defenders got a little extra flack this week. But otherwise, I thought the Lions defense played pretty clutch. The turnover, where Jack Campbell punched the ball out of DK Metcalf's hands or helped cause that fumble was big. So, and Kirby Joseph, again, his third interception of the season, and it just so happened to be in the end zone for the third time. So all his interceptions are in the end zone. Yep. So he's been coming up clutch this year.
He knows where to go. He knows where the ball is going in the end zone and who's going to get it. So he's right there.
And we haven't even gotten to David Montgomery with one of the best run. Like the screen pass he caught where he just lit up a Seattle.
I thought
defender.
He was down twice.
Yeah,
stopped twice.
And he's just a tough running dude. I love watching him run. Then you had. The play after Seattle had scored, the Lions get the ball back, and what do they do? One play later, 70-yard pass. Jamison Williams he was high stepping at 30 yards from the end zone. Like once he got in, it was a 70-yard pass, so he goes 40 yards, and when he sees open field, he gets to the 30, he just starts high stepping it 30 yards to the end zone. Unbelievable! The dude is so quick. It was a lot of fun. He dunked the ball on the goalpost.
Yeah, in honor of
Calvin Johnson, but he got flagged for that, which I think is stupid.
Yeah, I don't know why that's a penalty, but it is, and he probably knew he was going to get fined, but he wanted to do that for Calvin.
I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs had 2 touchdown runs. Montgomery got his touchdown run early in the game to start things off. And then one of the plays of the game is the Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of getting a little bit of like a pitch, and then Jared Goff going out and catching a pass from Amon-Ra St. Brown. Incredible. What a play.
I don't know if you stayed up late enough to watch the interview with Amon-Ra with Scott Van Pelt.
I think I saw the clip later, but
where he said that he is the third string emergency quarterback for the Lions because he used to play quarterback, and so I mean I didn't know that. I'm assuming that's true. I don't know if he was just making that up or what, but that's what he said during the interview.
Well, I saw the clip of his interview from a year ago with Jared Goff on his podcast with his brother Equiminius, and they were pretty much trying to get Jared Goff to say that Amon-Ra was trying to get him to say that he was like a good throwing player, but Goff's like, yeah, I wouldn't trust you to throw a pass. And this was about a year ago. And here we are, and what a beautiful ball it was that he threw, actually.
It was perfect.
It was
and
great.
they were talking about that, too. It wasn't... It couldn't have been thrown any other way. It was perfect.
It was
Perfect
pretty
pass.
good, yep. So there was that play. And then, of course, the big stat that everybody's been talking about is Jared Goff going 18 of 18 for 292 yards through 2 touchdown passes, caught a touchdown. And it's the... what did they say? It's
a new record for the most yards without an incompletion, which was set back in 1939 by Frank Vilchak with the Washington Redskins, where he threw 179 yards. And I don't have the stat on how many passes he threw, but he did not have any.
Probably 4.
It could be. Back in those days, it was mostly run. But 18 for 18. And to do this on Monday Night Football.
Right.
Where everybody in the world is watching.
Right.
And it was just incredible. Like I said, it was just a fantastic night to be a Lions fan, wherever you are in the country. If you're a new Lions fan or an old Lions fan.
And did you see that Campbell didn't realize that the stats, and he gave the game ball away to a different player? So
he said, no, I feel bad.
It's just fun.
I'm sure he got one later.
He probably didn't even need a game ball. But I mean, what a cool...
even afterwards, they were talking to Goff, and he didn't realize that it was he was
because he was unsure because there was the incomplete pass he threw, but there was a penalty, so
it
pretty much
count.
made it so it didn't count. Because I was wondering that too. I was like, oh, does that count?
So even he wasn't aware until they were brought it up in the post game interview with him.
So that's pretty sweet. And of course, at halftime, the Lions inducted Calvin Johnson as the 21st player to their Pride of the Lions. 92 former players attended the halftime ceremony.
That was a big crowd on the field. And I saw the list. Somebody posted a list from the team of all the players that were going to be there. I didn't see Billy Sims' name on it, and I can't remember if Barry Sanders was there. I bet he was, but...
I'm pretty sure I saw... Barry wasn't there during the game. He was at least at the night before when they actually gave Calvin his jacket and all that at their private ceremony or whatever. I'm pretty sure he was there at that.
Yeah.
But regardless, cool. And having Calvin in the house that night, honoring him at halftime.
Right.
I wish they would have shown it on TV. I don't think they showed it.
No, they didn't show a darn thing.
Yeah, I was
kind
of bummed.
I was looking for it this morning. I had to find it, on X or whatever. And I actually Googled it, and I found the video on some other site. But then I found it on the Lions site. But I had not seen a thing about that until this morning. Yeah,
and I mean the relationship between the Lions organization and Calvin Johnson's come a long way.
Yes,
especially since Sheila Ford Hamp has kind of become primary owner.
Yeah, during the speech, she introduced Lomas Brown, who introduced Calvin, but she had nothing but good things to say about Calvin. Calvin had nothing but good things to say about her. It brought a tear to your eye.
Well, I was there
cool.
when they had Calvin at the halftime of the Lions. Was it the Lions? One of the Lions games I went to, they inducted him. I was there with Aaron. It must have been the Ravens game when they kicked the 64-yard field goal because everybody was booing Sheila Fordham. This is the first year of the new regime.
Right.
Fans were still kind of ornery. They didn't like Sheila, so they booed the crap out of her, which I didn't like at the time.
Yeah.
And here we are now, and now everybody loves Sheila.
Yeah.
And the job she's done as owner and how that's just kind of trickled through the organization. So what a couple of years makes, is awesome.
Yeah. Weren't you there for another Pride of the Lions induction?
We were there last year for Lomas Brown.
Okay.
Yep. We went to the Monday night game against the Raiders or the Sunday night game against the Raiders.
Okay, that's right.
I can't remember. Was it the Monday night game?
Yes, the Raiders was a Monday night game.
So we went to a Monday night game last year where they did that for Lomas Brown. So, yep. So pretty sweet. And we'll stop talking about the Lions, everybody. If you want to hear me talk more Lions, listen to my show with my brother-in-law, Kyle, Just Lying Around. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that.
Oh, just a little bit more.
Probably.
I'm sure. Yeah, you'll go into a lot more detail than we just did.
Yep. All right, guys, we are going to now transition. We are going to head north of the border and talk about some games played in the Canadian Football League where the Rouges run free and the poutine is everywhere. It was week 17 up there in the great nation of Canada. Had 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday. Friday saw the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defeat the Edmonton Elks 55-27. Do yourself a favor. Sure, this looks like a one-sided, lopsided game, but watch these highlights. These are absolutely incredible. Kenny Lawler, wide receiver for the Blue Bombers, had an absolute day where every catch he made was better than the last.
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and the Blue Bombers have now won 7 in a row.
Yes, they have.
After starting out 0-4,
Yes.
and then going 2-6, and then now they've won 7 in a row, and they just qualified for the playoffs.
Yes,
so
they
the
did.
first one in the
we were
West
really
to do
worried
that.
about them early on, and here they are back to the old Blue Bombers.
We
ways.
knew that it was just a matter of time. It took a little longer than even you and I thought for them to get back on track. But look at that, 7 in a row now, and they're rolling into the playoffs.
Yes, they are. And a team that could be rolling into the playoffs if they keep going on this trajectory, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who defeated the British Columbia Lions 32-29 in overtime Friday night. They had to come back. They were down going into the fourth quarter. What was it, like 18 points they were down, something crazy like that?
Yes, they were shut out in the first half, and they scored 18 points in the fourth quarter.
That's what it is. Yeah, because they were down and almost could have counted them out, but they clawed their way back. I hate using that expression, but they did, and they got the win in overtime. So Hamilton now is a team kind of on that bubble where, a couple things happen. They could be right there in the playoff mix.
Yep.
All right, Saturday night saw the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeat the Ottawa Redblacks 29-16. Saskatchewan just, they just put a game together. Nobody scored a touchdown until the fourth quarter of this game. So
it was all field goals. What was it? 5 field goals in the first half.
Yeah, something crazy like that. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
The highlights were hard to watch because nothing happened really till the fourth quarter.
Yep. And then finally, to round out the whole weekend, Toronto defeated the Montreal Alouettes 37-31. This had a bunch of great highlights as well. Toronto getting a big victory over the Montreal Alouettes, who did, because of that Ottawa Redblacks loss, the Montreal Alouettes clinched the East Division.
Yep.
So they have got their playoff seating all locked up. Now the whole road runs through Montreal to get to the Grey Cup. So for Toronto, that's a big win, to prove that, hey, they can hang with the big boys that they need to, despite their record. And they've been up and down all year, but it's nice to see Toronto, when they're on, they can give anybody a fight. So, and then on bye this week, the Calgary Stampeders. And we wanted to mention it was National Truth and Reconciliation Day yesterday, Monday, September 30th. So over the weekend, all of the CFL teams in action were wearing special Indigenous artist created logos on all their helmets. I thought everything looked sharp. There's not a bad logo in the bunch.
Yeah, really cool.
They're all fantastic. It was great seeing them all on those helmets. You mentioned that the Saskatchewan Roughriders mini helmet with that logo is for sale on their website.
I did see it on the website.
Did you buy it?
I have not yet, but
Oof,
I would love to have a mini helmet of all of those helmets. They're all so cool. The artwork is just great. Even the referees had a logo on the back of their jerseys. All children matter, because this whole truth and reconciliation has to do with a bunch of what do you call them? Schools where they took Native, in the United States would be Indian children, but Native American or Native Canadians, Indigenous people took their children and gave them to certain schools to be educated, and there's a lot of tragedies that happened. A lot of those kids never were seen or heard again, and so it's something that's come out in the last few years, and it's really affected the whole country up there. And so they're trying to get together and just honor the indigenous folks up there. They call them the First Nation, which makes absolute sense. So yeah, this is really a meaningful time for them, and they're going to do this every year, and I think it's great. It really is. And hearing some of the stories, and talking to the artists, I heard many interviews with all the artists. Each team had a separate artist doing their logo, and their stories and the way they looked at it and how they came up with these logos is just fascinating. So I posted a lot of it on our social media. So if you go to the World of Football, either on Twitter or Facebook, I've posted a lot of these stories as I find them, and they're just all fascinating. So yeah, go check those out.
Yep, right on. And if you want to hear more in-depth talk about these CFL games this past weekend, go check out our weekly CFL show, Canadian Football League Weekly, available on our YouTube channel. We'll have highlights. We talk about quite a bit during the weekend that was in the CFL. All right, let's look at our CFL standings after 17 weeks. We are almost to the end of the regular season, everybody, and that playoff race is tightening up. In the East Division, as we mentioned, the Montreal Alouettes at 11-3-1 have clinched that division, so they have got it locked up. Following them, the Ottawa Redblacks are at 8-6-1. The Toronto Argonauts at 8-7, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats at 6-9. In the West Division, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have clinched the playoff spot, sitting with a 9-6 record. They are followed by the Saskatchewan Roughriders at 7-1, the BC Lions at 7-8, the Edmonton Elks at 5-10, and the Calgary Stampeders at 4-9-1. And as you notice, nobody has been eliminated from playoff contention yet,
No.
and only 2 spots have been locked up. So 2 of the 6 spots are locked up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Keeping an eye out on that Hamilton team because they're 6-9. If something crazy were to happen and they could do a crossover to the West Division for their playoffs, would be absolutely insane.
They could play spoiler for somebody. And is it going to be Toronto? Because they've beaten them 3 times this year. So if those 2 teams wind up being tied at the end of the regular season, it's going to go to Hamilton.
They've had their numbers. So,
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to stay in the Great White North for some Canadian college football scores brought to you by Randy.
Yeah, a couple of random scores here from USPORTS, their version of the NCAA up there. The Windsor Lancers defeated the Toronto Argonauts, the Toronto Varsity Blues by the score of 52-5. The University of British Columbia Thunderbirds over the Calgary Dinos, 32-30. And the Montreal Carabins over the Sherbrooke Green and Gold, 26-6. And then in the Canadian Junior Football League, it was the Okanagan Sun over the Valley Huskers, 60-14. The St. Clair Saints over the Ottawa Sooners, 40-10. And the Saskatoon Hilltops over the Regina Thunder, 36-11. We're going to come back to the U.S. now, and we're going to talk about some American college football scores. This was Week 5 down here, and let's go over what happened with the top 10 teams from last week. It was number 1 Texas over Mississippi State, 35-13. Quarterback Arch Manning was 26 of 31 passing for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran 6 times for 33 yards and a rushing touchdown for the number 1 team in the land last week. They're not number 1 this week, but they were number 1 when he did that last week. Can these Mannings do any wrong?
I mean, I'd hate to find out if there was a bad Manning in the bunch.
Even Cooper's hysterical when he does stuff. I mean, he might not have been a great football player, but he seems like an awfully nice person. Yeah. All right, let's see. Number 4, Alabama upset number 2, Georgia, 41-34.
What a game this was. Did you catch any of this?
No, I did not.
I mean, Georgia was down 20. I want to say it was like 28-0 maybe at one point. Alabama had their number. Georgia clawed their way back. And then it was just back and forth at the end of the game. Alabama threw like a big pass to kind of take the lead back and win the game. But, man, that place was rocking in Tuscaloosa. Unbelievable highlights if you get a chance to check this out. And, I mean, Georgia is never an easy out. And Alabama, we weren't sure what they were going to be like without Nick Saban around. And, boy, oh, boy, you can't get much bigger than that during the regular season.
Yeah, little spoiler. Alabama is the new number 1 this week, going into next weekend.
They
jumped from number 4 up to number 1.
With that performance, you beat the number 2 team in the country. Yeah. I'd say you deserve it.
Yep. All right, number 3, Ohio State over Michigan State, 38-7. Number 5, Tennessee had a bye. Kentucky upset number 6, Ole Miss, 20-17. Number 7, Miami of Florida over Virginia Tech, 38-34 in a pretty close game. It was number 8, Oregon over UCLA, 34-13. Number 9, Penn State over number 19, Illinois, 21-7. And Arizona upset number 10, Utah, 23-10. Going on to some other scores. Number 12, Michigan number 12, Michigan defeated Minnesota 27-24. This was the Little Brown Jug game, which is the oldest college trophy game in all of college football. Goes back to 1903.
Yeah, I saw a cool video of them actually painting on this year's score on the jug, which is pretty neat. But I watched a bit of this game. I mean, Michigan had control of this game for the most part. Then Minnesota just kind of surged back at the end. Boy, and the onside kick that Minnesota was called offsides on, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Michigan got away with one there, but boy, Minnesota, what a tough team.
Yeah.
I mean, PJ Fleck, the coach there, used to be the coach here in Kalamazoo. I had no idea he's been in Minnesota for 8 years. I can't believe
it's been a while.
Long.
Yeah,
but I mean, he seems like a coach that you think that he would have either moved on to somewhere else. I mean, Minnesota's I don't know. I'm not saying they're a bad program, but you think that they would have been the stepping stone to the next thing up, but he's still just there in Minnesota. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't have the stats in front of me, but over the years for this Little Brown Jug, Michigan has really dominated.
Oh yeah, it was like 75 to
20 or 30
20
something.
or 30, yeah. It's very lopsided.
Yeah, but that is the oldest trophy in all of college football. All right, number 16 Notre Dame upset number 15 Louisville 31-24. It was number 23 Kansas State upsetting number 20 Oklahoma State 42-20. James Madison defeated Ball State 63-7.
Oof.
Yeah, James Madison, they were one of the top teams last year. Weren't they undefeated last year? Or maybe
They were close to it. They might have lost a game.
They were having a heck of a year last year.
Yep.
Let's see. UNLV over Fresno State 59-14. Now, you may recall that UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka quit the team last week in a dispute over NIL money. The team was 3-0 when he left. Well, now they're 4-0 with a big win this week. Their new quarterback, Hajj Malik Williams, threw 3 touchdown passes in that game. So, see you, Mr. Sluka. Thanks for your time, but I guess we don't need you anymore.
I guess so. When I first saw that story, I felt kind of bad. I mean, but I mean, he didn't have an agreement. You still went to the school and all that without having an agreement. I mean, you have nobody really to blame but yourself.
I don't know all the details on the stories.
But this
it's kind of complicated. You hear new stuff every day.
But this is the issue we thought we would have with NIL stuff, and it's reared its ugly head in a few different spots over the last year. So I don't know. They still need to clean up this whole thing.
Yeah, well, I don't see that happening. I was against this whole NIL stuff right now.
Oh, we know. We probably got it on audio somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Eastern Michigan defeated Kent State 52-33. Kent State is now 0-5. And we talked about them last week because I said, haven't they been shut out by a number of teams? And, they have lost to Tennessee. They lost 71-0 to Tennessee. They lost 56-0 to Penn State. They lost 55-24 to Pittsburgh. And they also lost to an FCS team, St. Francis, 23-17. So, yeah, stay tuned for next week's score for the Kent State game. It should be interesting to see if they can pull up their bootstraps and finish the season strong.
Is that going to be our version of the Slippery Rock score at the Michigan games?
I don't know. Let's see. New Mexico over New Mexico State, 50-40. It was Colorado over the University of Central Florida, 48-21. Did you see any of this game?
A little bit.
I did not.
Mean, I tried to watch the beginning of the game. I think it was pretty close to begin with, but Colorado, I mean, Shedeur Sanders just...
Yeah, I like to, if I'm around, if I know the game's on, I'll try and catch some of it because I like watching Colorado play. They're a fun team to watch.
They're a fun team.
I did not see any.
I'm just not a fan of Shedeur personally, but I'll give him this. Cam Newton was at the game and was trying to talk.
I did see that.
And boy, the way that these guys just didn't want nothing to do with Cam Newton did my heart a little good.
Wonder why?
I don't, because it's Cam Newton and nobody wants to mess with.
Well, that
also, did you see the ugly hat he was wearing? I'd stay away from him too. So
I'm sorry, no pictures with you with that hat on.
Yeah, no picture. I don't even want to be in the same zip code as Cam Newton's hat.
All right, just a couple more scores here. Miami of Ohio over Massachusetts, 23-20 in overtime, and it was Marshall over our beloved Western Michigan Broncos right here from Kalamazoo, 27-20. You sent me this story, and I think I'd seen this before
I didn't
you
send
sent
you
it.
this one. It must have been Aaron.
Oh, I bet it was Aaron, yes, because he did graduate from Western Michigan. So, yeah, Western Michigan has a new agreement with the Detroit Lions to be an official education partner.
Right on.
You will see Western Michigan advertising around the field there at Ford Field. The university will also use the Detroit Lions marks in various co-branding opportunities, enhancing Western's visibility and engagement with the team's fan base. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. During a pregame ceremony last night, Western Michigan student Brian Cross, a cybersecurity major and a graduate of the Renaissance High School in Detroit, received the Detroit Lions Western Michigan University Service Award. He got a $5,000 scholarship recognizing his extensive community service.
Right on.
So there you go. Western Michigan and the Lions teaming up together.
I mean, I hope for me that this means that I can find a hat that like merges the Lions and Broncos colors and logos. Like, give me a brown and gold Lions hat or give me a Honolulu blue and silver Broncos hat. I am all for it because I think the local hockey team, the K-Wings, had like a Western Michigan night or something like that. And my buddy's got one of these hats. And I was so jealous because it's a K-Wings hat, but it's in Western Michigan colors, and they got like the Western logo on the side. And I was like, man, I would love something like that with my team. So if I could get a Lions Broncos hat hybrid, one way or the other, I'd be into that.
Well, you know how much I hate change, and Western Michigan this year added a yellow outline around their helmet logo.
Minor.
And I know, but it irks me. I really don't like it. It's on the field. You know, when we went to the game, it's painted on the field. It's on all their new, logos and T-shirts and hats and stuff. And I just don't like it.
See, you brought that up before you even brought up the Lions black uniform. We didn't even talk about the Lions black uniforms in the NFL segment.
Okay, here's my take on that. I didn't like them.
Of course you didn't.
The only people that looked good in black on that field were the cheerleaders.
I thought you were going to say the referees.
No. All right, let's move on to the military academies. Army is 4-0, and they defeated Temple 42-14. Navy is also 4-0, and they beat UAB 41-18. This is the first time since 1945 that Army and Navy are both 4-0 to start a season. 1945. That goes back to
That's World War II.
Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside, I believe, is who was on the team at that time. A couple of Heisman Trophy winners from Army. And then finally, Wyoming defeated Air Force 31-19. Now, here's a story that I meant to mention it last week, but I forgot all about it, so we threw it in this week. Heisman Trophy winner Reggie Bush is now suing USC, the Pac-12 Conference, and the NCAA, seeking NIL compensation money, which didn't even exist when he played 20 years ago. I think this is absolutely ridiculous, but listen to some of this other stuff. Reggie Bush is just the latest former athlete to seek compensation through the courts this year for their prior athletic careers under new rules in college athletics. Denard Robinson and Braylon Edwards were among several former U of M stars who sued the NCAA and the Big Ten Network earlier this month. I can't say as I'd heard about that. Otherwise, we probably would have talked about it. In June, a group of 10 players on NC State's 1983 NCAA championship-winning basketball team sued the NCAA and the college licensing company to seek compensation for use of their names, images, and likenesses from 1983. I think they're really reaching here. The NCAA and major college conferences are currently attempting to settle 3 antitrust lawsuits related to NIL compensation for athletes. There is a settlement agreement in place to pay $2.78 billion to hundreds of thousands of college athletes. And now we talked about that, but these are more recent people, not people going back to 83 or, whenever Reggie Bush won his Heisman Trophy 20 years ago. The NCAA changed its rules in 2021 to allow athletes to make money through sponsorship and endorsement deals after fiercely fighting against it for many, many years.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing I figured would happen, and I didn't agree with it at the time, but what are you going to do about it? That's the way it is now.
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, I get is it just an act to try to get something settled out of court? You're not going to win the case, but you make enough stink about it, and they're just like, we just want this story to go to waste.
Yeah, we'll throw you a couple $100,000 for it to go away or something.
I don't like it. I mean, it'd be like if I, worked for a company. Well, I've worked free for an internship for years. I went about my career, and then they started like, oh, we're going to start doing paid internships now. And then you go, hey, whoa! I worked for you 5 years ago. I didn't get any money from that internship. Right. I want to see compensation. I'm going to sue you for it. Like, come on, guys! Like, it's silly.
Yeah, they took Reggie Bush's Heisman away from him because supposedly he broke the rules that were in place at the time. Now those rules have changed, so they gave it back to him and everything. So I mean, he's got his Heisman back. He's got his jersey back. His number's been restored. That was retired and up in the stadium or whatever. So everything's gone back to normal for him, but he still wants more. And I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. Maybe that's just me. All right, let's move on to some FCS talk here. Monmouth defeated Fordham 63-21. Prairie View over Grambling 36-34 in, get this, 5 overtimes.
Oof.
In the Ivy League, it was Brown over Harvard 31-28. This is the first time that Brown has beaten Harvard in 14 years, dating back to 2010. So I thought I'd throw that in. And then a little bonus here. the Western Illinois Leathernecks over McKendree University. They're called the Bearcats. They beat them 49-32. This is the first win for Western Illinois since October 30th of 2021. So
Goodness
3
gracious.
years, almost 3 full years that they haven't won a game. And this just happens to be Greg James's alma mater. Our man in Japan, and we're going to have a little bit more from Greg here in a little bit, but he was so excited that he texted me with this information, said, you got to add this to your rundown, and I said, okay, I'll do that. So congratulations to Greg, congratulations to Western Illinois. Pretty cool. I like that. That's the kind of things we like to see here. Let's see, Division II, Ferris State over American International, 84-7. Wow. Slippery Rock over Edinburgh, 28-23, and it was Benedict over Morehouse, 21-5. In Division III, it was Kalamazoo College over Calvin, as in Calvin Johnson, 33-31. That was a close game there. Hardin Simmons over North American, 90-7, and Springfield over the Coast Guard Academy, 52-34. Now we're going to move on to the NAIA, where St. Francis of Indiana defeated Madonna of Michigan. Didn't Madonna come from Michigan? Yeah, she's from Michigan native. I don't know if they named the school after her. I'm sure it wasn't. But anyway, St. Francis over Madonna of Michigan, 70-7. The College of Idaho over Montana Tech, 45-37 in overtime. And Marion squeaked by Taylor of Indiana, 35-34. And finally, in the National Junior College Athletic Association, it was Snow College, our beloved Snow College out there in Ephraim, Utah, improving to 5-0 on the season with a win over Butler, 21-14. It was Hutchinson shutting out Ellsworth 99-0. I wonder if they just stopped there because they didn't have three numbers to put on the scoreboard up there. But 99-0, and then Mississippi Gulf Coast over Pearl River, 41-14.
Man, oh man, what a bunch of scores you had this week.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so now it's time for our Greg James segment, and you have a little special intro that you've been working on for months and months and weeks and years.
You mean I literally showed up and we worked on it for 2 minutes?
But yeah, let's play our new intro and let's introduce Greg James.
And now we're off across the Pacific, where our man in Japan, Greg St. James, has all the news from the land of the rising sun.
From the Gridiron Japan studios here in a place I like to call retirement land in Southwest Japan. This is Greg St. James with the Week 5 scores in Japan's X League. In our first game, we had the Tokyo Gas Creators 38-7 over the All Mitsubishi Lions. Next up, we had the Oriental Bio Silver Star 24-17 over Fujifilm Minerva. In our third game, we had the defending champion, the Fujitsu Frontiers, 31-13 over the Nojima Rise. And in our biggest upset of the week, and actually in the last probably 5 years of the X League, we had IBM Big Blue 24-21 over the Obik Seagulls on a walk-off field goal at the end of regulation to avoid the tie and give IBM Big Blue and their coach, our friend, Mike Fair, former CFL and former NFL assistant coach, a very big win. Congrats to IBM Big Blue on that. Next up, we had the Panasonic Impulse 27-10 over the Elecom Fineys. And then lastly, in our last game, we had the Seksui Challengers 42-3 over the Pleiades Suns. So that is our week 5. That is our week 3, week 5 of the X League, week 3 of the top division, the Super. As I've said before, the first and second divisions play alternate weekends. So we are now 5 weeks into the X League season, but only 3 weeks into the top division season. Top division only plays 6 games and then goes into the playoffs for the Rice Bowl in the beginning of January. And lastly, before I wrap things up here and get to the game, the Monday Night Football game that's coming on pretty quick here in Japan is, and when I say that, it is actually Monday. Sorry, it's not Monday morning. It is Tuesday morning here in Japan. I wrote an article at gridironjapan.net, and it's also available at gridironjapan.jp on how to watch football while you're outside of the United States. Obviously, when you're living in America, when you're even living in Canada, you kind of take football watching for granted. It's like, well, there's a way to watch it. I can either pay for it, watch it off the antenna, which is true. But when you get outside the borders of the United States, a lot of things happen in terms of internet protocols and geo fencing and geo blocking that makes watching not only the NFL but also watching college football very difficult. So just very briefly, I'll talk about the NFL. If you want to watch the NFL outside of the United States, you're going to require a subscription to the NFL International Game Pass, which is available on a service called DAZN, and that is at DAZN.com. And I'm not just putting it out there for your information, but I did write a whole extensive article about how to, using VPNs and free services and how to watch football while you're outside of the United States, because it does become a challenge. And for somebody like me who is now retired and living in Japan, having in the last 2 years, I've learned a lot. So with all that said, I put all that knowledge down on paper, and it's out there now for people to read, to hopefully use, and hopefully it's very helpful. Okay, with all that said, hey, it's game time here. Monday Night Football. Let's go Lions. Back to you, Randy and Adam, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Gee, I hope Greg liked that intro.
I mean,
you spent minutes working on it today.
Clearly you had me play it several times back to you. You were just so.
I
giddy.
didn't think you needed the echo on my voice, but when you played it back, I started laughing. That's exactly what we were going for.
You got to just trust me more. I know what I'm doing half the time. I mean, geez.
I've already got a couple ideas for a couple of different intros. So
goodness.
Got a couple of different types of music. News intro music. Yeah,
we're gonna. How long it took me to do one?
We can have fun with this.
Oh, you can have fun, and I have to do all the work.
I can have fun for 10 seconds recording a little bit, and then you can have fun for the next 30 minutes of putting it all together.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, now we're going to head back to the United States once again, and we're going to talk about more happenings in the world of football. One of the things that's going on is that today, October 1st, is the first day of the 2025 Arena Football 1 season. This is the day when all of the 11 announced teams can begin signing players to their team. Re-signing players they had last year, signing some new players that they're wanting to add to their team, and they have not announced the 12th team yet. I don't know how many teams they plan to put out next year, but there's got to be at least 12. And the Arizona Bandits have been the one that everybody's talked about so far. A couple of the people from the owners meeting that they had last week in Chicago have basically come out and said, yeah, it's going to be the Arizona Bandits, but they just haven't finished the vetting process yet. Maybe they've got another team or two that also wants in, and so if they can't vet Arizona, they might get somebody else, some dark horse team we haven't considered yet. But I'm really excited to see who the next team is going to be. I keep thinking any day now they're going to announce somebody, and I keep checking. Anytime I see something from Arena Fan or any of the other sites that's talking AF1, I'm thinking, all right, we're getting that 12th team, and so far it hasn't happened. But man, I'm excited to see who else is going to be there.
Yeah, we'll see. It's an exciting time. The AF1 should be a fun product.
Yeah.
Should be the Arena Football League we were all hoping for, but we'll see. We got time. I mean, it's only October. Kickoff ain't probably till March, so
yeah,
we got time.
I really hope they bring back the Cleveland Gladiators. I mean, yeah, it was a 4-hour drive for us to get there, but I would love to go back to Cleveland and see some arena football.
I mean, I wouldn't hate that idea.
All right, let's see. Today's birthdays and anniversaries. For October 1st, a couple of birthdays today. Guard Conrad Dobler, born on this date in 1950. He passed away in 2023 at the age of 72. He played his college football at Wyoming, and was selected in the 5th round of the 1972 NFL Draft by the St. Louis Cardinals. He played 10 NFL seasons. He was with the Cardinals from 72 to 77. He was with the New Orleans Saints from 78 to 79, the Buffalo Bills from 80 to 81. He was called Pro Football's Dirtiest Player in a cover story in Sports Illustrated on July 25th, 1977. His 1989 autobiography was actually titled They Call Me Dirty. I haven't read it, but it's over there on the bookshelf. So, which is one of those things I really have got so many books that I've gotten recently that I have not read, and I feel so bad. I really want to, but man, this podcast and all the other podcasts we're doing is keeping me so busy. I really haven't had time to start a new book. I've got like 3 books there. I'm halfway through all of them, and I just can't get back to them to finish them up. But man, I really want to. All right, the other birthday today is running back Mike Pringle. No relation to the potato chips, I don't believe. He turns 57 today. He played his college football at Washington State and Cal State Fullerton. He was selected in the 6th round of the 1990 NFL Draft by the Atlanta Falcons. He played 1 season with the Falcons in 1990, and then he played for the Sacramento Surge of the World League of American Football in 1992. He then played 13 seasons in the Canadian Football League. He was with the Edmonton Eskimos in 1992, the Sacramento Gold Miners in 1993, the Baltimore CFL and Baltimore Stallions teams in 94 and 95. He was with the Montreal Alouettes from 96 to 2002, and finally he ended his career back in Edmonton from 2003 to 2004. He is the only player in the CFL to rush for 2,000 yards in a single season. He did that in 1998 with the Montreal Alouettes. He won 3 Grey Cup titles over the course of his career. He won one with the Baltimore Stallions in 95, with the Montreal Alouettes in 2002, and with the Edmonton Eskimos in 2003. Montreal has retired his number 27. So happy birthday to Mike Pringle. All right, we have a couple of obituaries also this week. This is where we take a moment and honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first one is Donnell Thomas, a defensive end in the NFL. Donnell Thompson, a defensive end in the NFL for 11 seasons. He's passed away at the age of 65. Thompson played college football at the University of North Carolina and was the 18th overall pick in the 1981 NFL Draft by the Baltimore Colts. He played his entire career with the Baltimore/Indianapolis Colts from 1981 to 1991.
Our next obituary is that of Mike Lewis, a defensive lineman in the NFL for 10 seasons, has passed away at the age of 75. Lewis played college football at Arkansas Pine Bluff. He signed with the Atlanta Falcons as a free agent and played for the team for 9 seasons from 1971 to 1979. He finished his playing career with the Green Bay Packers in 1980.
And finally, Tom Myers, a quarterback in the NFL for 2 seasons, has passed away at the age of 81. Myers played college football at Northwestern and was selected in the 4th round of the 1965 NFL Draft by our beloved Detroit Lions. He was also selected in the 1965 American Football League Draft by the Denver Broncos. He signed with the Lions and played in just 1 game each season for the team, one in 1965 and 1966. Myers was inducted into the Northwestern University Athletic Hall of Fame in 1991 and in the Troy, Ohio High School Athletic Football Hall of Fame. Let me try that again. The Ohio, man, I am screwing this up big time. The Troy High School in Ohio. He was inducted into their Athletic Hall of Fame with their inaugural class in 2013.
Man,
wow.
Why was that so difficult?
I don't know. It's just the way I wrote it. You complain sometimes about the way I write things, and in my mind it makes perfect sense, but even that didn't make sense to me.
Welcome to my world.
All right. And finally today was talk about our upcoming events calendar. This Sunday, October 6th, it's the New York Jets versus the Minnesota Vikings at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. That game's going to be on the NFL Network Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. You going to get up early and watch that game?
If I'm working, I'll probably watch it at work.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, the Jets are playing well, and the Vikings are playing pretty well.
On. The Jets are not playing well.
They're playing well, but they're losing. But as long as they keep losing, I'm happy.
With the Vikings being what they've been the last few weeks, this will be an interesting test for them. Sam Darnold going against his old team that drafted him, so this should be an interesting matchup to say the least.
Yep.
Will Aaron Rodgers not throw a touchdown pass. His last game against the Broncos, that's the first time in his career he's played a full game and not thrown a touchdown pass. So we'll see what they got in store for the people over there in London.
Yeah. All right, let's see. The following Sunday, October 13th, is the Jaguars and the Bears in London. Sunday, October 20th, it's the Patriots and the Jaguars at Wembley Stadium in London. October 26th, that's a Saturday, it's the CFL regular season coming to an end. Man, we're almost done with the CFL regular season. Going to be playoffs before you know it. Sunday, November 10th, it's going to be the Giants versus the Carolina Panthers in Munich, Germany. And Sunday, November 17th is the 111th Grey Cup game in Vancouver. We're going to be sitting there somewhere around the 55-yard line in the upper deck.
Yep.
So, God, I can't wait for that. That is going to be so much fun.
It's going to be something else. I'm very excited.
But I did have a dream the other night that it had something to do with a military deployment. But the bottom line was I didn't have my passport with me. I forgot my passport, and so I think I've just been thinking about that. With our passports.
I will leave you in Canada if I have to.
All right. Anything else before we close out today's show?
Actually, yes, there was a few breaking news items. I mean, you mentioned
I did see one other one.
Devontae Adams requesting a trade.
Yep.
The other news that kind of came through was the Bills' outside linebacker Von Miller has been suspended 4 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Bit of a surprise there. And then also the Cowboys have placed 4-time Pro Bowler DeMarcus Lawrence on injured reserve. The defensive end will miss at least the next 4 games. That's going to be helpful to the Detroit Lions here in a couple weeks when the Lions take on the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's who they play the week after their bye. The Lions are on a bye this week.
So if you're a Lions fan, that might be good news. And I mean, the offensive line, that's just one less headache they got to worry about.
Yeah,
so.
well, that's going to be a heck of a game. I'm looking forward to that, but I'm also a little nervous. I know this is a big revenge game for the Lions, so I hope they can pull this one out this time.
The Lions have been pretty decent when it comes to these revenge games over the years. So, they got their revenge on the Seahawks. They hadn't beaten the Seahawks in years.
Yeah, three straight they've lost to Seattle, and it's so close, these games.
Yep, they got that taken care of. They took care of Matt Stafford twice.
Yep.
Now, I mean, later this year, they'll get a shot at the 49ers again.
Yep.
And they get a shot right now at the Dallas Cowboys in a couple weeks back in their building.
Yeah.
And that's the team they wanted in the playoffs, more than they wanted to play Dallas really bad in the playoffs. And
didn't happen.
But you could guarantee there's going to be some linemen declaring eligibility all throughout that game, and I am here for it. And I believe I saw somewhere that the NFL could start flexing games after week 5.
Really? That soon?
I think that's what I saw. I could be wrong.
I thought that was like much later in the season, but still, I think it was earlier than I thought it was going to be.
I thought I saw. Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it. I should have saved it, but like they were talking about the NFL's ability to start flexing games around.
Well, maybe that's just a proposal.
Maybe I don't know, but I'm wondering if they're going to try to put the Lions Cowboys game in a better spot.
That's
probably
true.
already a 4:00 game. But I mean,
I'm not sure
if you could flex that to a Sunday night, I mean, they'd have to do that because you need like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I doubt it'll happen. But I'm just saying, like, how is that game not another Sunday night primetime game with all the nation watching to see what the referees are going to do this time?
Yep.
So that's all I had.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during our podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we've done our job. Visit our website at theworldofffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldofffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all 3 of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at the World of Football in your YouTube search bar. You can also spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
Were you trying to look something else up?
I am.
I could tell you were very distracted while you were reading.
I did, because I want to give a shout out to Greg Norman.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Who posted a picture on X of him wearing a World of Football t-shirt. That's right. There's one out there in the wild. It looks great. We appreciate it, Greg.
In
if you're
Australia.
listening. All the way in Australia, so we appreciate him.
Greg's been following us and commenting for a couple of years, and we appreciate him so much. Glad you like the T-shirt, and now people are going to be going, "What the heck is that?" And you're going to have to do got a lot of explaining to do about that T-shirt that you're going to be wearing out there.
Right.
All right. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in Kalamazoo talking about football. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, yeah, right, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm just happy to be here, folks.
And we'll see you all next week.